Hello, everybody. This is Travis,
Hello, everyone. This is Brandon.
and welcome to what is sure to be a fantastic episode of Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. So happy that you could join us for sort of a transitional episode, I guess. Brandon, is that fair to say?
I guess that's fair to say. What wouldn't be fair to say? Like what about that wouldn't be fair to say?
Like if I said like this was our last episode, or more so if I said this was our first episode, those would both be unfair to say.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that's right though. Like I think that would just be an outright lie. It's not fair. There's nothing fair about saying a lie.
There's nothing fair about lying, Brandon. It's criminal and it's wrong.
No, that's yeah. Well, I guess like if you're Belichick, right? Like then that's where like lying and the whole fear. Okay, you know,
let's not bring the AFC East into this. Like that's for another time and a place. If you want to talk about your favorite NFL division, you can hit us up on social media, over on Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, on our subreddit rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com, on Facebook, facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast. Send us an email at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Buy our shirts. Or buy other people's shirts. I don't know. Actually, somebody did buy someone else's shirt, but they bought it through our TeePublic page at apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop. Do that. Data kiss. Finish that picture of us and throw it on a t-shirt. We'll throw it up on the shop.
That's actually so. I just want to say this, right? And this actually we probably could save it for semi. You know, let's save it for semi-pertinent news. I think that's a good. I think it's a good talking point.
All right. One last thing worth mentioning is our Patreon, patreon.com/Rick and Morty Pod, where all sorts of patrons have been just chatting with us on Discord on the reg, and not even just chatting with us, but chatting with each other. And it's fun to see you guys hanging out. So check out our Patreon, where you can get video versions of these episodes and much more. Those video versions being the reason we're starting almost an hour later than we'd originally planned for this podcast. But without further ado, and to get into whatever Brandon was wanting to talk about, it is now time for semi-pertinent news.
Semi. I figured out how to hook my iPad up. It's semi-pertinent news. You got pertinent news. Semi-pertinent. Okay.
All right. Wow. With musical accompaniment.
Let me change the drummer on that.
You're taking it to a whole new level, Brandon.
See, in GarageBand, they have these drummers, right? Like these smart drummers, and then you just like press a button and they start playing, which is how I do all of our music.
All right, you just mash the pre-recorded stuff until it sounds like something that resembles music.
Yeah, and so I just want to throw out thank you so much, GarageBand, for the intro and outro music for this show.
All right, yeah,
not a sponsor.
Definitely not a sponsor. Speaking of sponsors, though, and not a sponsor of this show, but definitely sponsoring some fundraising, the Omaze fundraiser group. They have been promoting all over social media. They actually sent us an email for asking that we kind of help spread the word on this. But yeah, if you haven't seen it already, there is an awesome opportunity for fans of Rick and Morty to go and hang out during the recording of the season 3 commentary for the DVD release. You're gonna go hang out with Justin and Dan out in the City of Angels, or maybe just Burbank. I don't know exactly where they.
I think it's a suburb. It's when people ask me, they're like, "Hey, where are you from?" I'm like, I'm from Los Angeles. Like, oh, really? Where? A suburb of Glendale. Like, oh, really? Where? It keeps going down until it's like, oh, really? What high school did you go to? Christina Valley. Oh, yeah. Hey, I went there too.
And then you realize the person sat next to you in history class, and you're like, I really should have recognized you. I apologize.
Brandon? Oh my God, you were the priest in the Crucible. I remember you.
I went to prom with you. You've really changed.
Look, I want to apologize for my friend Julie, who I went to prom with, and I was I spent the majority of my prom trying to hang out with this other girl. So I am sorry, Julie. I apologize profusely to her whenever I see her.
All right.
But she has a husband and two lovely children now. She can't hold that against me.
Yeah, it all worked out for her benefit. Okay, like it's better now. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't have all the specifics for the fundraiser, but I'm sure if you head over to the official Rick and Morty page on Facebook or pretty much any social media outlet, or just go to omaze.com, I guess, search Omaze. I'm sure there's a way that you can. I think the minimum donation to get entered in is like $10 or something.
Huh.
But yeah, go in and donate some money and
Absolutely
get a chance to be on the commentary.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into the sweepstakes that we haven't talked about, and I don't actually know is a thing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do our own season 3 commentary, attach it to a season 3 DVD, and then put that out there for you to listen to. Boom! I just made that up. Travis, and you can't take it back. It's on the airwaves now.
Yeah, no take backsies. You know what that sounds like to me, Brandon? You know what that sounds like?
What's Stealing Thunder? Is that?
No, that sounds like a great Patreon perk for anybody who signs up over at patreon.com/RickandMortyPod, because that's going to take a lot of work. But I love the idea, and we should definitely do that. I don't know, maybe if you plan on being in town anytime soon. Funny. We'll get to that in a bit too. One final bit of news for those of you that have been following Rick and Morty fandom in the past. Maybe you know that Elon Musk is a bit of a fan of the show. He had some tweets out during season 3, I believe, talking about how he watches the show with his son or sons, I believe. And this week over on Twitter were some pictures of Justin, Dan, and Mike McMahon, who all got a chance to go meet Elon Musk and hang out and somehow delay humanity's progress towards a manned mission to Mars, while they talked about Rick and Morty and took some promotional photos, I guess. But pretty cool stuff, and cool that they got a chance to hang out with
super cool,
super smart, possible world changer.
I just had this conversation about Teslas the other day, and I want a Tesla, but here's what I also want: the infrastructure to support a road trip using electric vehicles.
Well, I mean, this is definitely not the podcast to cover it on. Hashtag apathetic enthusiasm.
Well, no, it's semi-pertinent, Elon.
Yeah, it's semi-pertinent. They're totally putting a ton of charging stations, and if you're keeping up with what Tesla's doing, they're not just building the cars. They're building the batteries. They're building the infrastructure, and they are really trying to make it.
Okay.
You may have to plan your route very specifically, but there's a chance you could probably make a road trip out in a Model S.
Yeah,
in the near future.
Or and that's what we love about Rick and Morty is it's the future today. I do have another piece. You mentioned Daticus a little bit ago, drawing us and coloring us and making that pickle juice really shine,
making that pickle juice pop.
and realistically, if you haven't seen the picture that Daticus has done of Travis and I, we were eating pickles, and I don't know how to eat a pickle, evidently, and which is actually true because I posted a picture along with that of, I think it was like 2003, 2004. I put an entire like Clausen pickle in my mouth, and then I did the picture where I was like surprised, like, why did this pickle get in my mouth? And so Daticus called it.
Yeah, it was an astute observation and a keen understanding of our character and our personalities when he shoved that drawing of a pickle in your face. So thanks again to Daticus for working on that. Speaking of artists, speaking of featured artists, we did talk about featuring an artist on these episodes throughout the break, and we did have a really cool bit of art sent to us by Grant Ramos over on Twitter. It is a YouTube video, The Delicious Taste of Ice Cream by Tiara Y. Yeah. And if you have not gotten a chance to see this video, I snagged the link for YouTube, and we'll shove it in the show notes.
Yes.
But definitely go check it out if you're starting to go through the symptoms of losing season 3, and maybe it's been several weeks now, and you feel like you just need something else to kind of ease that process into having no Rick and Morty whatsoever. This is a very well animated sort of tribute to Rick and Morty. Brandon, you seem ready to speak.
Yes, I am ready. So TROI is the same person who did, I believe, took the animatic from the court case and then animated it fully.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So that's who TROI is, and they came back and then they did this. They pulled audio from the Rick and Morty VR,
Yep,
and then
virtual reality.
something else as well. I think maybe. Yeah. But anyways, they put this together and they made an animation for it, and it's fantastic.
It's also it was strange to me because initially I didn't realize where they pulled the audio from, and then there is a conversation towards the end where I'm like, whoa, this is exactly something that happens at the end of the VR game, and then it like cut to the credits, and I'm like, ah, yes, all right, these are pulled sound files from, but with that
this
said,
is canon. It's canon.
Yeah. Vegan Morty season 4, it's canon. So, but yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't gotten a chance. The link is in the show notes, so highly recommended.
I want to mention one more thing about not necessarily Daticus, but Daticus reminds me there's also a contest going on that Hot Topic is throwing on about, like, hey, design some stuff, and then we'll take your stuff, and then we'll give you $2,000, probably a flat rate, and then we'll keep all the other
$2,000, Brandon. That seems like a great prize.
And we'll keep all your intellectual properties, but thank you for entering. I think that's how that works. I'm not sure. I'm not a sweepstakes man, which is why I just said the thing about the season 3 DVD. But yeah, so that's going on out there. If you really want to get your face out there and try for that $2,000. But I would also say there are other avenues out there to put your designs out there, your Rick and Morty designs, and actually get paid directly for that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And Travis, unless you have anything else.
Oh, I'm sure I have plenty of things to say as a person who indulges in graphic design from time to time. But if maybe you're not looking for a serious career in graphic design, or you have something that just is a really cool shirt idea that you'd like to get seen and put out in Hot Topic stores, by all means, go and submit your idea, and maybe it'll be a shirt, and then people will wear it, and it will be awesome. So I think that pretty much covers everything for semi-pertinent news.
I think so.
I don't know for sure if you have the outline open, Brandon, that I made for this episode. So the hits keep coming, and it is now time for.
Wait, give me a second. Give me a second to open up the outline. Let's talk about semi-pertinent news a little bit more. What else? What semi-pertinent news? This just in. Brandon doesn't have the show notes open.
Like we covered like 90% of the show notes anyway. In semi-pertinent news, but it's all good. It's all good.
That's really, really cool. Oh, it's titled "Our Interdimensional RSS Going on a Break,"
which brings us to the main thing.
Yeah. It's the main thing. Season 3 break coming up at you. I'm gonna eat an egg during the season 3 break. That's it. I'm gonna eat an egg during the season 3 break.
Like
that's canon.
Like just one egg.
That's all I need for sustenance. Like if I cut the egg, it's just like little bit at a time.
Little bits.
I thought that drum beat was gonna be far. I thought it was gonna be faster than that. I thought the tempo was good.
It was good. Well, as we have alluded to at least twice already, we are about to take a break here. This is a bit of a transitional episode where we've hinted at going on hiatus with the podcast for a little while now. And the fact of the matter is there are some very real world events that are taking place that will make it a lot more difficult to get new episodes out and into your ear holes. So instead of like starting season 1 right now and trying to review a couple of episodes and then having to take a break in the middle of that, we felt like now was a good time to stop and sort of say our piece and then get.
Thank you, baby. I just want to stop. Thank you, baby.
What are you doing with your hair right now, Brandon?
Rick and Morty. It's like sugar. Okay. Yeah. No, we're going on a break, and here's the thing. I'm moving. Basically, what it is I'm leaving the motherland of Hawaii, Oahu specifically, and I'm moving on to other pastures. I won't say greener pastures, but more humid pastures. I think over in Florida land.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna take me about a month or two maybe to actually get settled in. So we just want to make sure like that when we come back, we actually have something consistent to provide, rather than kind of like piecemealing an episode here and there.
Yeah, and I mean we've already sort of said we're going to go to the every other week sort of thing. We are trying to rejuvenate Apathetic Enthusiasm and make that happen, but unfortunately that podcast will probably be on a break as well during this time. So podcasting is something we've done consistently for 2.5, almost 3 years now. So I think this is probably the first time we've taken a significant break at all in that time, and it won't be easy. It won't be easy on me, Brandon. I can't speak for you, but I've already started to have some issues with the potential withdrawals.
It is true, and I think a big part of that is the last time we took like any kind of real break was
when
you
I
had
left Hawaii.
Right. And I don't think I was prepared for this move. and I used to give Travis crap a little bit for like, come on, when are we gonna record, Travis? Come on, you piece of shit. Let's go record. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll find some time here and there. And
then I'm like hiding in my in-laws like garage at like 2 a.m. in San Diego. Like, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna get an episode out there.
And now the tables have turned. And I'm moving to Florida. So I pretty much this will be I did record an episode with my friends Ozzy and Omar. We played a little bit of a Rick and Morty Munchkin, and then I talked to him a little bit about that. And I recorded that. Probably put that in somewhere in the break.
Definitely throw that in there. And for the sake of transparency, you're doing a little bit of a road trip during your move, and somehow, some way, I think my wife may have convinced your wife, or vice versa, to route your road trip through Omaha, and so you're gonna. So you get to spend at least a day or two in my neck of the woods, and it would be impossible for you to come and hang out with me and us not do some sort of podcast or two. So, definitely expect some sort of bonus episode happening in between when we get back into full swing with season 1 episodes. And then the live streams. Hopefully some of you got a chance to check out the live stream that we did a couple weeks ago where I built the Rick and Morty garage. It was the McFarlane toy set. I still have the other half of the garage with Jerry and the Meeseeks. I have not built it yet. So I could definitely do another live stream of that.
Definitely.
Or I may just, throw on Cuphead or PUBG or something, and we could just hang out and talk about Rick and Morty stuff while we live stream. So yeah, if you have something that you'd like to see us doing on a live stream, or specifically me, because I'll be hanging out while Brandon tries to move all of his belongings and his family across this country of ours.
That's right.
Yeah, hit us up. Let me know.
And I'm starting off in Los Angeles, and I'm making all the way to Florida. So if you're somewhere on that commute, just throw a rock as I pass.
Yeah. Shake your
Chip
fist
my
as he
windshield,
drives by.
and make me stop in your town. So long as it's not like surrounded by corn, because
Hey,
in Omaha is surrounded by corn, and it freaks me. I'm on a Stephen King kick, and it freaks me. It freaks me. Corn has always freaked me out. Those tall stuff.
to
He who
be
walks the
fair,
road.
Brandon, by the time you get here, all that corn will have been long dead. Because
God,
winter is nearly here, and
death,
and
my favorite.
yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the big news that's going on. We are taking a break. Don't have an exact date that we will be back, but if you haven't gotten a chance to follow us on all of the social media platforms, definitely go get on one of them, because that is the best source of information for when we will be coming back, and when and we are going to start doing season 3 episodes or season 1 episodes. And we do want to have some guests. So while we are not going to be recording, that does not mean that we won't be working and preparing to sort of get everything lined up for hopefully a really great crop of episodes, podcast episodes, once we return.
That is absolutely right, Travo. Travo Matravo. That is my new nickname for you, Travo Matravo.
Travel Trav.
Ooh, you should start a new podcast called Travels with Trav. But since you're only in Omaha, like it's just very
it's just
Omaha
me
centric.
walking around town.
This is the McDonald's that's on 4th and Studebaker Drive, and it's really good.
Still out of Szechuan sauce. Sorry. Speaking of travel, Brandon, I didn't want this episode to go by without us doing some sort of Rick and Morty discussion. So we did have a couple of people bring something up this week on social media that loosely was questioning the idea of time travel in Rick and Morty. And we've been pretty adamant on the show about saying that time travel is off the table. It does not factor into the idea of Rick and Morty. There was a very matter of fact thing that happened in the ABCs of Beth, I believe, where after Morty and Summer come home from hanging out with Jerry, Rick shoots a portal, goes and grabs a pizza, and says, "Oh, the pizza place isn't closed in a place that doesn't have daylight savings time." And then it's like, that definitely wasn't time travel. It was just on the counter and I took it. Don't get any ideas. But people have gotten ideas about time travel, and I want to get your take first of all about why you think time travel would maybe not be a good thing for the show, and what sort of things time travel complicates if it does become a factor.
Yeah, I mean the most initial thing that I go back to Heroes, which was on NBC for a minute, I think. NBC,
couple minutes, I think, because they tried to bring it back again.
Right. Well, the whole thing with Heroes that got to me was if that show was a single season, I think it would have worked. But when they introduce Hiro Nakamura immediately, who he comes back from the future, and he's like, "Hey, I'm warning you, save the cheerleader, save the world." Because that creates a self-contained story. Like you've already introduced a character who's all powerful with this time travel stuff. And then as we see with Heroes as it goes on, you're like, well, now what do we do with him? This time traveling superhero. Oh, we have to gimp him and make him so where he's like, no, he's all the way back in the past without his powers. And so I think that's the thing with time travel is you have to come up with ways that it doesn't overpower the narrative of the show. It's like when you're cooking, right? And you're like, I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in this, and you sprinkle a little salt. You taste it. Oh, that's all right. Let me put a little bit more salt, and then every time you put a little bit more salt in, the amount of salt that you're pinching out of the bowl is a little bit larger. He's like, oh, let me just speed this along.
Until you're just
And
jamming fistfuls of salt into your
yeah, you're
pasta
like,
sauce or whatever.
okay, more than seesaw, and
Salt
then
Bay style, Salt Bay. Just
and then it overpowers the meal, right? I feel that's how I feel about time travel generally.
yeah, I think there are some like risks and some things within the show that feel like they're less at stake. If time travel is an aspect of the show that they bring into it, there are things that have happened, that decisions that have been made where you're like, okay, well, like that, they're gonna have to live with that decision. If time travel is a factor, they can go back and mess with that, and sort of retell some of the same stories, and then it doesn't hold as much weight when you look back at them. It also, if you start looking at paradoxes and things that could come about because of time travel, I feel like an already complicated show with just the idea of interdimensional travel becomes infinitely more complex, and it just I think the wheels start to fall off at that point a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Chris Rawling, he wrote us a message on Facebook, and he asked an actually interesting question that I appreciated, which was, if time travel doesn't exist, does that mean that the Citadel will cease to exist when all of the Rick and Mortys die of old age? What do you think about that, Travo? Travo,
Uh,
my travel.
my gut reaction from the traveling Trav is to say yes. Like, yeah, the Citadel of Ricks exists for a finite amount of time during the lifespan of the ever present Rick, across however many dimensions. But I think that we could make the argument that lifespan is not the same length of a typical human. They've done a lot of work in season 3 to show Rick's ability to build in cybernetics and sort of improvements upon himself. He definitely has the ability to clone himself and also transport his consciousness between, multiple Ricks. So realistically, I mean, Rick called himself a god in the season 3 finale, but he does have the mechanisms in place to live for a very long time, much longer than you would consider an average lifespan.
Certainly, and maybe there's a dimension out there where Rick decides that Tiny Rick is the body that he wants to be in, and then he stays in it. Obviously, he has the ability to make clones of himself, young clones, and even though he would be an old, raggedy old man in a young body, he could very well do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
or I mean, realistically, we talk about old age and dying of old age, and typically that's this concept that your body has existed for such a period of time that your cells are breaking down, and your body has just lived so much that it's not holding up as well anymore. But
mhm.
if Rick could take a version of himself that is fresh and sort of renewed, yeah, he's not dealing with teenager hormones, but he's still in a fresh body. So I don't want to get into this idea that Rick can never die because he's just gonna have like a standby, you know, like ready
Like
at a
Deus
moment's
Ex
notice.
Machina.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but there is a potential that maybe an evil Morty has sort of thought of that scenario and maybe thought of a way to eliminate Rick's, if that is his end goal,
Yeah.
and that would definitely probably put an end to the Citadel.
I like that you brought up the whole aspect of what old age really is your cells getting not being able to sustain themselves anymore, right? We're
Right.
like, yeah, we're done. Also, like our time is up, and and I think I don't know if Rick and Morty will ever explore this, or any, I don't know if any media has explored it necessarily, but the idea, like, okay, part of that is our brains dying, right? And so our consciousness in our brain, because all the cells are dying. But what about like consciousness itself as a kind of existential entity, right? Like consciousness getting so old that it starts to eat away at itself.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely the
Does that make
idea.
sense?
No,
Am
no,
I
and I get what you're saying.
am I on acid?
Well,
I feel like I'm on acid.
like you think about like any story of like immortals, right? And sort of how they've existed for thousands of years and potentially like dealing with seeing everyone they know come and go, and they're the only ones that stick around. That it does take a toll on them, sort of psychologically. I would prefer the idea that Rick just like uploads his consciousness into like an artificial intelligence and then becomes like the singularity, and then that's like the finale at the end of 100 seasons of the show or something like that.
That's it. Yeah. And not talking about any kind of condiment whatsoever.
No,
I'm not even going to say.
Not
I'm not
even
even going
one.
to say the S word.
not even one.
Condiment. 100 years, 97 years. Condiment. That's
Yep,
my
yep.
next goal.
All right. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about time travel being shelved on the show. I really hope, for the sake of sort of continuity and canon and every other C word that's out there, they just they keep it shelved, and they don't incorporate it. Maybe there is an episode where it's like a one-off and they, I don't know, fire up a DeLorean or something. But for the most part, keeping time travel out of the show seems to keep everything else a little bit better put together.
Orderly. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, just with as many dimensions as there are, with people getting like caught up on how many dimensions there are, and like, oh well, maybe there's another dimension where actually Beth did go over there, or maybe she's not the clone, or all these variations. Now times that by time travel.
Yeah.
And
they're going to need a lot more whiteboards in the writing room if that ever comes into play.
Yes. Okay. So that's all. I think we're good with the time travel stuff.
Absolutely.
The next thing up we have, and this is kind of semi-pertinent news. This goes along with the Omaze giveaway. So in that video, they show what it's like to do a season 3 commentary with Justin Roiland playing with some figurines and Dan Harmon doing commentary on it.
These things up here that are behind me, that only the video viewers get to see. But yeah,
that's right.
The little pop action figure guys.
Yeah, Rick, Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole, and just those three, right? And Dan Harmon said something that was a joke. He says, and then there's Mr. Poopy Butthole. He's a grown-up Meeseeks. That's canon. Right? So he said that, and I don't know about you, Travis, but I took it as a joke. Clearly, to me, it's very clearly a joke. What do you think?
That felt like canon. It had to be. Of course, they would do something that is so pivotal to the mythology of the show, and two of its potentially most popular characters that are not in the show title, and then somehow merge them into being different stages of each other, even though that doesn't make sense at all. It was a joke. It was a joke. It should be accepted as that.
This is my thing. There's a GIF out there from The Simpsons with the guy who does the McBain, the actor who does the McBain, and he's doing stand-up comedy, and the GIF is, "That's the joke." Well, like I feel like I partially feel embarrassed because I'm like, certainly no one really thinks that is canon. And maybe like when I see it on Swift posting, they're like, look at me, I'm gonna troll Brandon, specifically Brandon. I'm gonna put this out there. Yes, it's canon. And then I'm like, God, I hate people. And then they laugh at me. Do you think people are laughing at me right now?
Not with these hacky jokes, Brandon. No, it's it's a joke. It's a joke, guys. And like,
also Morty's vegan. That's also canon.
That's canon. for the sake of having discussion about canon, though, I feel like it has to happen in an episode. If not in an episode, like maybe a comic or some sort of like additionally officially released medium. Like if it's just something that writers are riffing on in an interview or something, I'm never really gonna accept that as canon unless they're doing an interview where they're like specifically answering questions about whether or not something is true for the show.
Right. It's like
it's too easy to speculate. It's too easy to kind of get wrapped up when you have people that are like that like cracking jokes. They do it for a job. Like, yeah, I don't know.
And I'll even say with the comics, even though we talked to Kyle, right? Like, there's still a part of me that's like, it's not in the show. It's right now. It's kind of like Star Wars Extended Universe, where maybe in like in a year they're gonna say, okay, everything that was in the comics or in the books, Star Wars books, is not canon, and we're just gonna pick and choose from what we want to for Star Wars Force Awakens and The Last Jedi in theaters December.
Yeah, I got my tickets, Brandon. I don't know if you got your tickets yet.
I know.
I don't think you know what theaters to go to yet for that. Yeah. So just for those of you out there who are grabbing onto this theory, that's where we stand on it. We definitely think it was a joke, and we'll continue to pull the most of our mythology for the show out of the show itself and the individual episodes. So yeah,
that's right. And speaking of comics, go see and read Pocket Like You Stole It.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, Mark Ellerby, is he working on that book?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice name drop, Travis.
You got it. Good job.
All right, that's enough. That's enough main thing stuff. Hopefully that fulfills your.
And that's the way the news goes.
Look at me, cheesy soundboard guy.
And I can actually hear him this week. It's awesome. All right, it's now time for listener suggestions and short outs, which will continue the conversation that we were just having to a degree. We did get some interesting tweets while we were off. One from Tots SM. Is it possible that the Mr. Meeseeks that was ordered to kill another Mr. Meeseeks is still suffering the pain of existence? You answered this a little bit on Twitter, Brandon, but what was your take on this thought?
I don't remember what I put on the take. If you haven't, I think I said that pretty sure they all disappeared, so there's no more Mr. Meeseeks as far as that goes. I think it's a recursive. Is that the right word for it? Where the first Meeseeks was there, he had to get the 2 strokes off his golf swing, and then I need you to kill him, but by fulfilling the original goal of 2 strokes off the golf swing, which is what that was. As soon as that Meeseeks is dead, then this one is like, oh, cool. I took part in that killing, in a sense, in a universal philosophical sense. And
even if you didn't do it directly, the fact that Meeseeks did cease to exist, the fact that the Meeseeks did die, would in turn fulfill the task of that Meeseeks.
It's like
it shouldn't still be living.
Travis, it's like if you said to me, "Hey, can you help me kill this person?" And I said, I'll help you. I'll hold him down while you slice his throat and bathe in his blood. Yeah, I'll do that, but I'm not going to kill him. In a sense, I helped you kill him.
Yeah.
I killed him in a way.
It's sort of like when Summer tells Jerry about what a piece of crap he is. And then he's like, okay, will you help me? And Morty's like, she just did. It's, sometimes helping someone is not always, the help that we expect. So.
Sometimes you're facilitating help, and by doing that, you are helping them. Yeah. And so in that way, I think all the Meeseeks are gone. And but if that one Meeseeks is still around, man, that is a shitty existence.
That guy is having a rough time. I also don't know where he'd be because I don't know. I definitely don't think he's around. He's
He
gone.
turned
He's long
into
gone.
Mr. Poopy Butthole. Which okay, let me come back to this now. So the other thing about Mr. Poopy Butthole being a Meeseeks, right? Why am I humoring this? But I just want to talk about it. The sense that he's still there and he's really, really happy. If
Yeah.
existence is pain, why?
He's a Meeseeks that's transcended, and he's stepped over onto the other side of, existence is pain.
Yeah.
And now it's
Why? Why is that Meeseeks a poopy butthole? That's it.
wow. Jeez, Brandon.
I figured out how to.
You're taking this show to a whole nother level, a place I've always wanted it to go. I can't put into words my excitement.
I need to find faster drum beats.
Someone else that can put their words, or their excitement into words is myself, Meyselph,
Yeah,
over on
Jeffrey.
over on the Twitter sphere. There were a lot of responses in this Twitter thread, but I'm going to get at some of the core ideas here where they say, yeah, the second you tease meaning and continuity, you kind of have to accept responsibility for it, in their opinion. Doesn't mean they have to make every episode Tales from the Citadel, but they should probably lay off stuff like casually suggesting extra unexplained universe jumps, and so on and so forth. Basically, the root of this Twitter conversation goes into the fact that because you have some really grounded and deep episodes like the Rick Lantis mix-up, the writers have a greater responsibility to focus on those serious aspects of the show and that serious continuity, and they can't brazenly just, the squirrels are mad at us. We gotta universe jump again, or they can't just have those one-off jokes because it jacks with that continuity and it doesn't all fit together. Brandon, care to comment?
They can't. It boils down to they can't have their serialized cake and eat it too. Right.
Yeah.
Right, Travis. Yeah. My thing
eat your
is,
cake and have it too.
the way it's difficult, and I tried. I wanted to respond to all the tweets at us, but I think the thing is, like, you have to set yourself up mentally to understand or prepare yourself. Like, there's a lot of jokes here, and it's just a TV show. And yeah, sometimes it's going to like pull our heartstrings. The writers are going to try to pull our heartstrings, and they're going to try to get emotion out of us. But really, Rick and Morty aren't real people. And so there's
whoa.
At the end of the day, Travis, there are no real stakes in this. It's a show meant to entertain us. And I think of Futurama, and I know there are some, like Jurassic Park. I don't know if you've seen Jurassic Park or Luck of the Irish, Travis.
Yep.
But those are two episodes in that show that are in a show that's generally really, really intelligent. But the writers, for some reason, decided, you know what, we're going to, in these episodes, manipulate the shit out of our audience, and we're going to steal emotion out of them, and we're going to make them cry in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But we don't. Futurama, then the next episode, we're not thinking about Seymour anymore. We're not thinking about Fry's brother. It's moving on. And,
sure.
And so that's how I compare Rick and Morty to Futurama. Is that, yeah, you can joke but still be serious, but not have to be like, now we have to go all in on the seriousness.
I think that balance, the attempt to juggle both slapstick, insane comedy, breaking the fourth wall, but also really dig into some deeper meaning, the thoughts about our universe and individuals and personal consciousness and interpersonal relationships and all of those things. That juggling act is one of the things that makes the show as appealing as it is. And it's not a new thing for season 3. And that was maybe one of my biggest issues with some of the criticism as season 3 started to roll out is people felt like it was taking itself too seriously, or it was dealing with things that the funny show that is Rick and Morty maybe shouldn't have been dealing with. But you go back to some of those early episodes. You go back to when Morty's talking to Summer about burying himself in the backyard. Like this show has always dealt with some really heavy and occasionally really emotional issues. A scene that really sticks out for me is the season 2 premiere when Rick is basically having to accept that he's going out into the void, and that he's going to rescue Morty, and then he's gonna cease existing, and he has to kind of grasp with the acceptance of that. And then quickly alters course. But just sort of those moments in the show really add to that deeper meaning. And I don't think that they have to sacrifice Rick running in and trying to buy a bunch of Nintendo DSs to try and flip them for profit. Like, I don't think you have to sacrifice those types of jokes if you're gonna do the other. I think that the writers have done a really good job of balancing it all, and I think you have a couple of different types of fans, people that really like to focus on the greater mythology of the show and talk about the big theories, and there's some people that just like the fart jokes. Like it's you get a bit of both.
Yeah, and so like the stuff like casually suggesting extra unexplained universe jumps. I there's the part of that where maybe they're casually suggesting unexplained universe jumps because that doesn't matter. That's not what you need to focus on. Yeah. Maybe we get in the habit, even us, right? Like we get in the habit of like, let's explore too much of this aspect of the show, looking for meaning. Much like meaning in life, we're like, why did this happen? Why is this happening in our lives? Where that doesn't matter. That's not the bigger. That's not the question that needs to be answered for the show. Sometimes you just want to call Summer a bitch, and that doesn't matter. It's just like, Summer, come on, what the fuck, Summer bitch. Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you for your tweets, everyone, and we look forward to continued conversations over on Twitter. Try to filter those through all of the political melodrama that exists in the world right now. So.
Yeah. But thank you, Jeffrey. We appreciate you writing in and giving us those thoughts. So it was good discussion. Thank you.
Featured email this week from Tyler Tigno. Says, just discovered the wonderful world of podcasts. You guys are one of the first that I subscribe to, and I've been binging on your Rick and Morty discussion and can't wait for the new ones. This show always makes me want to talk about it. However, unless I have a friend who is watching it with me, YouTube comments were my only outlet. So thank you for changing that. I've followed you on Twitter and am promoting you as often as I can. Keep them coming. Tyler Tigno. And that's the way the news goes, was the way that he signed his email.
And that's the way the news goes.
Awesome. Tyler, thank you so much for checking us out. Thank you for subscribing to our podcast before you're able to find all the other great podcasts that are available out there. Hopefully we have set a low enough bar for you to be able to find many other great podcasts available out there on, I don't know, wherever you're getting podcasts. Maybe it's Apple. Maybe it's not. You're free to live your life the way you choose.
That's generally how I feel about it too. Like, if we're your first, then we're okay. Hey, cool. Everything is going to be so much better once you explore.
But hopefully everybody else has sort of thought of this show as a way to kind of explore some additional ideas about the podcast and just have somebody to talk about the show with. We do want this to be a two-way conversation, so maybe if you go back and listen to some of our previous episodes before season 3, maybe you just started listening during season 3. hit us up with questions, and maybe we've changed our perspective since some of those early podcast episodes, and we'd be happy to revisit some of that stuff and continue those conversations over this break and into our reviews of season 1 and 2.
That's right, Travis. Thank you, everyone. We got some reviews, and we want to shout out the folks that have given us nice reviews, and even the ones that give us not so nice reviews.
Sure.
Travis, why don't you start us off?
So Swifty Nick wrote a review that said this show predicts Rick and Morty will last 100 seasons. I don't know if we predicted that. I think the show's pretty much stated that multiple times. 100 years, Rick and Morty. Justin and Dan would dig this show, and they catch many things I've spent hours rewinding, pausing, and screenshotting to identify. The cool thing is they'll be doing more than just season 3. Hashtag Szechuan Sauce Interviews 2. I don't know if Swifty Nick was one of our Szechuan Sauce, if he was the Szechuan Sauce dude or not, or one of the people in the interviews, but if you were at the McDonald's a couple weeks ago, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening to the podcast, and look forward to doing some more of these. Swifty Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we got Rstrig. Best Rick and Morty podcast. Hey, thank you. Shining review. Is Shining? That's what you say for
Sure.
that, right? Like,
Why not?
At least 6 standard deviations off the finite curve of Rick and Morty podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that's called Lean Six Sigma. It's a project management.
Are you getting your green belt out right now? Is that something that's happening?
Continuous process improvement, Travis. It's everywhere. It's everywhere you look.
Finally, a glowing review from Jacob EL94, who gives us 2 stars and says, "Bad jokes, not what I was looking for." Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate the 2 stars. Here's what I want more. Like, if I can't ask Jacob L94, who I'm assuming was born in 94, I can't expect him to come back and tell me what the bad joke was. Like that, like how far did he get into an episode? Which episode was it? And what jokes were they that he's like, nah, you know what? This is not working for me. If he was like the dude from American Idol, and he's like, nah, dog, this isn't.
Nah, dog. You gotta try something else, man. You know what? Thank you, Jacob. We appreciate your response, and frankly, Brandon makes me laugh, and that's good enough for me on this podcast. So hopefully the rest of you enjoy.
I have
the
a bad
jokes.
joke.
You have a bad joke? Did you have one?
Yeah.
You have one ready?
Yeah. So in honor of Jacob L94, who will never hear this because he doesn't listen to the podcast because of bad jokes, Travis and Unity, why did the monkey fall out of the tree?
Why, Brandon?
Because he was dead. Done. I had my 5-year-old tell that joke at dinner the other night, and everyone was like, "Don't tell him. Don't have him tell that joke. That's a horrible joke." Like, what?
2
Things
stars.
die.
Brandon. 2 stars.
Oh, monkey joke. Okay.
All right, folks. That is it. That is it for this officially going on a break episode of Interdimensional RSS. We cannot thank you guys enough for sticking with this podcast, for continuing to download. We had a whole heap of downloads last week, and we had not put out a new episode. So I still appreciate everybody that is going back and checking out the backlog of the podcast. This is a good opportunity if you have friends who don't know about Interdimensional RSS. Maybe they're catching up on season 3 via DVR or through, I don't know, torrents or something. You know, like how are they doing?
Torrance, California.
Torrance, California.
There's a server, Rick and Morty server in Torrance, California. Look it up.
But
it's
yeah,
canon.
The absolute best way, aside from leaving a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choosing, is just letting your friends know about the podcast, spreading the word, and getting us out into, I don't know, communities where we're not friends with your friends. Like we can't tell them about it. That's
Hey,
your job.
I do. This is so delayed, but I do have some extra semi-pertinent news.
Oh God. Okay.
I did.
Rewind.
Thank you to Trivia Hawaii. I went out to Chelsea and I went to a Rick and Morty trivia this last week, and with a team of 6 folks, featuring Co Snyder, Jasmine Batista, I believe was her last name. We got to the very end of 3 rounds, 30 questions of Rick and Morty trivia, and we missed 2 questions. But there's bonus points associated with if you had Rick and Morty swag on, so a button or a shirt, whatever. Well, this team of 2 people, they got one more question right than us, and they only had one piece of Rick and Morty swag on. So we actually won based off of how many extra bonus points we got. Yeah, but like the host, Remy Zane, he pulled me up. He's like, "Hey, and one of the 2 final teams has a Rick and Morty podcast guy on here." And then he called me up and be like, "What? Oh, boo, boo!
You suck.
Like, hey guys, listen to my show." And then we sat down, and then we're like, you know what? Let's give it to them. Let's give it to the 2 people. There was just 2 of them, and they deserve it more than us. And so I want to congratulate them for winning the trivia. I just full disclosure. Here's the 2 questions I missed. 1, the name of the gun that the time traveler used, which was Chris. That's the name of the gun. We didn't get that. And then the second question, this is the one that irks me, was the name of the voice actor who did Rosato Groupon in the Whirly Durly Conspiracy, which I made a point to in that episode say his name because my wife likes that voice actor. He does Mr. Crab on SpongeBob.
Yep.
I said at that night, like, I think it's Clancy Brown. She's like, I don't think so. Like, all right, Michael Ironside. It was Clancy Brown, and we could have tied it up. We could have, and I would have felt much better about giving it to him. Okay, anyway.
All right.
Whatever.
Well,
Trivia Hawaii, thank you so much.
Now that we've massaged your ego enough, Brandon, I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, but we will definitely be letting you guys know when episodes are coming back. As I said earlier, keep your eyes peeled for upcoming live streams and bonus content. Some of that will be released on the RSS feed here, so you definitely won't miss it if you subscribe to the podcast. But until that time, until we are back for the official, I don't know, season 2 of Interdimensional RSS.
Yeah.
Until that point, I am Travis.
Oh, and I'm Brandon.
And he'll probably stay Brandon that whole time. Who knows? But
I think so. Hey,
thanks for
everyone.
listening.
Bye.
See you later.